Bob, I'm trying to remember the last time you and I saw each other, man. It's been a long time, but the one thing I remember back in the day, we did lots of interviews with you and a certain group you were with.
Me and you have met many times through Great Big Sea. The last time was probably 2013 when we released the our 20th anniversary recording, and we did extensive media in all at all levels. And then things sort of spiraled out of control. But that was we had a couple of great chats around that.
Brother, you know the one thing I never actually said to you? I wish you and I went out for a drink because I always had a great time talking to you and actually talking to Ben. And always in the back of my head, I said, man, if there's ever, I always said, you guys and Michael Bublé were the guys I always wanted to go out with just to go to a bar or somewhere and just have drinks and talk because I feel like I would probably be killing myself with laughter and having a great time.
I can say with some assurance that we are excellent people to drink with. Not
Man,
very good at the organization and the paying of taxes and whatnot, but the drinking, we're wicked at that.
Look, before we get into this amazing show, and I have to apologize, I realized something. I don't have green. I don't have a green shirt. I don't have a green hat. And it made me realize I got to go get me some green for interviews like this. But before we get into the show, I got to ask you, man, how does it feel knowing that you've been part of an iconic group that really resonated throughout Canada with traditional style music? That it didn't matter what your background was, hearing you guys, you just jumped and you just had a great time with your music.
I mean, I really feel lucky. It was a real privilege to have gotten to do that and gotten to do it at that level and got to do it for so long. So, where the sort of people around me kind of go, oh, he must be thinking and kind of bummed about Great Big Sea all the time. It's like, no, actually, I was glad to be there. Like nothing lasts forever. No escalator goes all the way to the top, without a spin down the other way, right? So, and very few bands last as long as we did and got to do what we do. And for me, it was lucky in that it opened all kinds of other doors. And, I didn't have to go substitute teaching. I was lucky enough to stay working in the music business and working in theater and helping put great shows together and still, feeling the buzz of the confetti and the spotlight.
Well, let's talk about a show that's happening right now. And there's a reason why we're talking about this style of music and why I don't have any green, which I need to find.
Well, the Wild Rovers is, when we talked about doing a musical based on the legend and the career of the Irish Rovers, we struggled a little bit because, the band is still touring, they're still alive. And we didn't just want to do a tribute, we had to kind of think about what different angle can we take? And for us, we all had these sort of child memories of the TV shows, this sort of wild anarchic humor, these beautiful melodies combined with these incredibly vibrant personalities, and I grew up in a one-channel universe, right? Like the people across the street had two, but we only had one. So in those days, something like the Irish Rovers, everybody saw that show. It came on right after the Wide World of Disney on Sunday night. And it was massive, right? So, in a pre-cable, pre-phone, pre-internet, pre-anything world, that something like that could really enter the public consciousness in a way that's almost impossible now. So we went back to those shows and thought, how can we capture that spirit? How can we tell a story that has all that fun and all that humor without just being, a tribute to the band itself? So we came upon this kind of crazy, anarchic, sort of Monty Python-esque fairy tale, and we just went from there.
And I want to remind people because it was the Magical World of Disney, the Irish Rovers, Tommy Hunter, and I do believe the Nature of Things was right after that.
I have a memory of the Beachcombers in there too.
Yes,
I can't remember exactly how all that stacked up.
Oh man, those were great memories. But that show, what do you think it was about it that again, it's like your former band. People watched it. And yes, you had communities that only had one channel. There are other communities that had more channels, but people still watched it and they loved it. And again, it didn't matter what your background was. You'd be flipping channels. You're going, what's going on here? And these vibrant, fun guys were singing this great music and it just resonated and it sucked you right in.
Well, I mean, one of the things we tried to do with Great Big Sea, and I think the Irish Rovers did really well, was that we made the music of our community accessible to the whole world. And the biggest talent of the Irish Rovers is to take the music of their childhood, their own community, and then make that everybody's. So that everybody who saw that show felt included. They felt they were part of it. And of course, their whole thing was sing along, laugh along. It wasn't very complicated. It wasn't sort of presented as art. It was presented as something fun. Like, so when you watch that show, you felt like you knew these people. You felt like you'd gone to a party with them, and that's not easy, right? Most people can't do that. So, and I felt as me, this was a show that I could really embrace and really bring something to as a producer, because I had also been in part of an entity that had done that, and I had some sympathy, I think, with the material, but also the way they found this strange road that brought them into the embrace of the public.
So what do we see here? How does this show work when we finally, the lights go on and we start hearing the first beat? What do we see? What do we hear?
Well, we created an imaginary band to set off upon an impossible adventure. And the big thing about it, the thing the Rovers did all the time, was they constantly broke the wall. You never felt they were performing. You felt there was a conversation going on. So we do the same thing with the audience. Periodically, we have to say, by the way, we're just fooling around here. This is not that serious. And it creates an intimacy and an engagement that's just a lot of fun and really special.
Now, you've taken what other areas across Canada have you taken this to?
So we just opened a theater in St. John's, and we did a very successful sold out run of the Wild Rovers there, and then we wanted to get it on stage in Toronto. I mean, Toronto is the third biggest English speaking theater market in the world after New York and London. And if you're serious about doing this, you got to go toe to toe with the other theater company and all their theaters, right? So we know what we're up against, but at the same point in time, I've always been ambitious. The company's ambitious, and if you're gonna, if you want to play in this field, you gotta put on your sweater and go out on the ice.
So, any chance that we're going to take this to other communities across Canada, or maybe in North America too? We still feeling it out?
Yeah, we're going to tour the show next year. This is not the end of the road for the Rovers in any sense. And having built this thing, we're just really excited to show it up in Toronto. But I think this is a show that'll work in anywhere in Canada. I'm not the only one with these memories. And I think a lot of Canadians, particularly after the grimness and the despair of the last few years, they want to go see something fun. And this show is capital F fun.
What's the reaction been like so far?
People really enjoy it. It's not, like I said, this is not, sheets of pain and a deep dive into the darkness of the human condition. This is about what the Rovers did themselves so well, which was to put people in a room and lighten their load, send everybody home with a throat sore from laughing and hands sore from clapping and toes tapped off. And we try to do the same thing with this play. We want people to walk out the door having done something a lot of fun. And I think we pulled that off. So I'm just happy to be here.
What about merchandise? Do we have anything that we can leave with?
Well, we have some, of course, you can't do the Irish Rovers without entering into the world of unicorns. So without exaggerating that, we managed to create some really unique unicorn merchandise that sends everybody home with a little bit of pixie dust.
I cannot wait with that. Any chance that we're going to get maybe a soundtrack recording from this or anything like that? Or maybe even like, I know this is all sort of starting up, but maybe even a show DVD, or maybe I don't know, maybe even getting televised in some way.
We're definitely working on the soundtrack, because we worked really hard to sort of take music and kind of shift it over a couple of notches, so it doesn't just feel like a tribute, but it takes what we love so much about the music, it just puts it in a different place. So, and I mean the Irish Rovers, their biggest hit, the Unicorn, came out in 1967. That's a long time ago. So that one is ripe for some new energy, and everything old is new again in this world.
I hope people remember that, because that was a worldwide hit.
That was massive, and I mean, at the time, Canadian bands hadn't had worldwide hits, and and even though the Irish Rovers emigrated here from Ireland, this was their home. This was where they all lived, where they had their children, and where where the surviving members still live. Canada is so important for the Irish Rovers, and how they made this music part of the Canadian fabric was amazing. So, to have a hit in America then was unheard of. And especially for a band that's so unlikely as the Irish Rovers, for cousins and brothers and buddies from Ireland who came to Toronto and just somehow, found the right combination and took on the world.
Any chance you're performing yourself?
Yeah, sadly, I've been popular opinion has kept me into the wings and in the back and into the office. I've volunteered many times. I have a I have a wool hat, you know, and I can do a plausible Irish accent, but popular demand limited my performance to the early rehearsals.
Oh man. So let's remind people how long is it running and where's it running here in Toronto?
It's running at the Winter Garden Theatre. It closes on November 5th, so you still got 2 weeks to see the show. Its sales are on via the Winter Garden website, our own at www.terrabruce.com. It's lots of ways to buy tickets. It's an amazing show. You know, you owe it to yourself to get off the couch. We've all spent way too much time on the couch in front of the screen and staring at our phones. And after 3 years of hardship and grimness, this is a chance to come out with other people and have a really good time. You don't get too many of those, Rudy. So I advise you to sign up.
And I had a great time talking to you in the past and then having a great time talking to you now. So happy for you with this show, man. Congratulations on that. So glad you're here in Toronto. I'm going to do what I can to see about getting tickets for the show. And if I can grab you, man, I would love to do a pint with you, my friend.
Oh, you won't regret it. You won't regret it.
Thanks again, my friend.
You want to save a bit of money for the bail? Otherwise, it'll be perfect.
Thanks again, man, and congrats.
Thank you, sir. Cheers.